Hi, my name's Stephen Bones of Smoke Signals, and today I want to talk about what happens after this life. So, we're in this physical body, we're sort of doing the thing we do in life, probably looking for a career, family, relationships, home, partying, just enjoying life in general as much as we can. And for some of us, that can also be a fairly difficult time. So the question is, where do we go when we die, if you like? And that question came into me some 40 plus years ago. And I ended up in a church, and on the church wall was a mural of the planet. And there was three questions there, and this is the interesting thing. It said, where have we come from? Why are we here? And where are we going? And that had quite an impact on me, and it didn't really begin to take shape until I was round about 58, 59, some 6, 7 years ago. And we had a huge trauma within our family life that caused us to change direction, and it was forced upon us. But I look back now and question mark that. Are there coincidences? Was it forced upon us? But anyway, I am here where I am now in a healing space and helping many others heal along the way. So here's some science for you. So I don't fully understand science. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a mathematician. I'm not a physicist. I'm just me that listens and learns. And I've learned more in the last 6 or 7 years than I probably have. And I mean academically, studying things, than I have for most of my life. And interesting enough, I'm not going to give you all the details. You can go online and Google this stuff yourself. But there is now a new theory that Darwin's theory of evolution is incorrect. Okay, the evidence supports that it's not there, and the reason for that is in 1987, the scientists unearthed this Neanderthal girl. And it was the best form of fossil that was ever found. And it just so happened with new technology, they extracted a small amount of DNA that was left out of one of her big toes. And they compared that DNA with modern day apes and humans. And the whole science of it is, and this Neanderthal was some 30,000 years ago, and the whole science of it is that it was completely different. So that throws out evidence of the evolution. Then some 200,000 years ago, there were some other bones picked out, and they measured the DNA, some of the chromosomes. And this is what's unlocking everything, is the new ways of testing DNA. And it essentially points to that the modern human, if we'll call them that, the chromosomes somehow got changed some 200,000 years ago, very different to primates and Neanderthals of where we're meant to evolve from. They were different. And by the way, for these chromosomes to change, apparently it is a impossibility without some outside technology. So it's not only pointing to that we lived alongside Neanderthals, but we didn't evolve from Neanderthals, number one. Number two is, and this is the big one, we didn't arrive here by accident. It was planned. We were put here for a reason. And then that leads on a little bit more. If you follow that and want to accept that as a point of view, then the next question is, why are we here? So that brings me to my teaching and learning along the way. And my opinion is we're here to raise our consciousness, if you like. So give you my story. I was on a treadwheel, didn't have a particularly awesome childhood, went through various things within the family, and that had an impact on me. I then just went out and did my usual thing, needed to get a job because that's what I was coerced into, because that's what everybody did. get a mortgage as fast as you can, because it was my teaching was get on the property ladder, which I did, and I'm quite grateful for that point that I did. At 18 years old, I had a mortgage, and that was pretty unusual in those days for an 18-year-old to have a mortgage, but I did. I managed to get one, and then I just ended up in more or less a career of sales, and developed my way through sales, and then realised that the only way to make any real money in sales is to work for yourself. So ended up with our own business, and then that's where the trauma came, and we lost that business, and that put me into this space we're in now. So is that a coincidence? Well, one never knows. I don't personally believe in coincidences, but what I do is I look back and think, well, that happened for a reason. I'm glad it did, because I'm in this space where I am now. So my learning, and you can pick this up from, there's a book called The Journey of Souls by Dr. Michael Newton, and it's an amazing read, and it joined the dots up for those questions I opened up with. Where have we come from, why are we here, and where are we going? He was a psychiatrist, and he uses hypnotherapy, and I've had my early awakening of my original healing, if you like, if you want to call it that way, was through hypnotherapy. So I know how powerful it is, but interestingly enough, I shied away from that for donkey's years, but that's another story. So this guy was using hypnosis while he was doing his psychiatry, and just happened to realize that he was talking to something, an energy, a being, an entity, whatever you want to call it, that was in between lives. And so he realized by asking various questions, and fascinating questions, that he was getting some really far out answers. So worth a read. Dr. Michael Newton, The Journey of Souls. And he puts in that book probably 30 of the best files he's got on subjects that he calls, because obviously he can't name them, these people, but there were subjects that he did some work on and asked various questions. And when I read that book, it was like a huge light turning on. It was like, wow, that is amazing. That really began to join the dots for me. It's sort of, I got so aligned inside, because as I was reading it, I was getting excited, because it seemed to be what I knew, and I hadn't even mouthed those words, but it just seemed to be what I knew. And so of course you can then go deeper and deeper, and the teachings are, and my learning and my perception, and I really do have a strong alignment that this is something similar, that before we come in to human form, we sort of choose our journey. We choose our parents, and that certainly says that in the book, when he asks these beings. And from there, we choose various experiences, and we've got freedom of choice. So the most powerful thing is those, if we choose one, say the fifth, the little finger of choice, then there's another, another 5 choices, say, or many choices from that choice, and everywhere takes us down a different path. And that can be pretty huge. And I do believe along the way we're helped out and we're led. I certainly feel I was helped out and supported, because I don't know how we'd have got through what we went through without that support and help. I don't know where it came from. If you ask me, I could say it's spirit, I could say the beings from the other side, whatever you want to say, but there was certainly something supporting me. Oh, and by the way, I think the statistics are that 85% of people 85% of people in the world do believe that we go somewhere along the lines of that there is something more than what we're doing now. So it's quite fascinating. So look the science up yourself on this Neanderthal girl and the DNA and what it actually proves, and then read the book, even just get a synopsis of it, and you might find it fascinating. But the whole point is if we landed here on purpose, like the new data and the new science is pointing to, then we've obviously got a mission when we come on here. Whatever that mission is, there are lots of new age views, there are lots of spiritual views of what we're here for, even religious views of what we're here for. And then they take us down the road. But what I certainly can work out for myself is it wasn't that treadmill that I was on before. And there's nothing wrong with working, and there's nothing wrong with developing and striving if we're aligned with what else is going on around us. Because I was completely oblivious to anything that was going on around me. I am a bit unusual in the case where I'm also offering healing work and working with people through various gifts that I've got that I didn't know I'd got at that particular time. Plus I've got these Wildcat healing drums behind me. I've got a team of them, and I take those out and help people as well, charities, schools, care homes, anywhere, groups that I've needed, then I'll go, or even maybe 6 people minimum in a room for the afternoon, I can do that as well. So the big question for me is, yes, I do believe that we come in, we choose our way, we make various choices, we choose our parents, and then as we come through this life, we create a life for ourselves. And notice I didn't say evolve, we create a life for ourselves through our beliefs and what we believe we're capable of or what we're not capable of. I believe we all carry wounding along the way. Some of that we can bring in from other lives that we're still carrying, and a lot of it is clearing what's happened in this life, especially when we were children. Because again, the science now proves that when a baby's born, it comes in a state of hypnosis. In other words, the brain is in theta state all the time until around 7 years old. And of course, even the science of that's proven science, but even the books of psychology and various healing modalities that you read about talk about the inner child between the ages of 0 and 7 years old. So strange, isn't it? Coincidence? Don't know. But all I know is I'm a strong believer in that, and I certainly believe that that's what it's about. So the next question is, why are we here? That's the big one. That is the one. Where we're going, well, when we leave, I just believe we move on back to where we came from, and I believe we're coming again. Many of us will come in again for various reasons, but that's another rabbit hole. But certainly, while we're on this planet, it's to make an impact. It's to heal a lot of what we're going through, and we can choose to ignore that. We can choose to do what I used to do and my wife as a family. We would go out a lot, we'd go on holidays a lot, we'd go weekends, and we'd argue a lot, and that was usually alcohol fueled, but it was a circle. It was as though time just kept repeating itself, and as it kept repeating itself, life got better to a point because we were earning more money as we went along, and then it sort of got to this point where we were okay for money, and we'd sort of more or less achieved everything we wanted to, but we just had to pay off the debt on some of the housing that we'd got, and that was when it all collapsed. And interesting that it all collapsed at that given moment in time, and then that brought me into this space of learning and understanding and going down many rabbit holes. So I hope you found this interesting. If you want to chat some more about it, just leave a comment. It is a vastly huge subject. I love the way that modern science is now beginning to catch up with what many of us have believed for many, many, many years. Some people I talk to, I engage with, have been in this space 20, 30 years, and they've listened to ancient texts from various different parts of the world that point to this sort of period of time that we're going through at the moment. And there is a shift in energy at the moment, and we can either choose to ignore that or we can embrace it and see where it takes us as well. So just a little subject there. Thanks for listening. I can talk a bit more about that, but next week I'm going to talk about parents or family that have a loved one with some sort of addiction to substance abuse, and maybe there's a way there that people might need help. And again, I can help with that. Some of it's lived experience, being a parent in that space, and I've done a lot of learning around that as well. I've just completed a course, how to support people in that space, but I also feel that there's a strong gap for parents, to help parents and understand how to help a loved one and how to be a loved one. So thanks for listening. This is Stephen Bones of Smoke Signals. You'll get me on stephenbones.com to find out what I do, what healing I offer, and I'm always around, so just message me and I'll catch up with you soon. Thanks very much for listening. Take care.